The weathered iPhone 4 was discovered by highway maintenance worker Dale Reeves on a steep embankment off Interstate 70 just outside Grand Junction, Colorado. Partially buried in soil and covered by brush, the device showed significant deterioration from years of exposure to the elements. What made this discovery extraordinary wasn't just the phone itself, but what forensic technicians found when they managed to extract data from its damaged memory, a final text message, never sent, addressed to Mom, dated June 17, 2014. "I'm sorry about everything. I need some time alone. Don't worry about me." The message, recovered in May 2025, would reopen one of the most puzzling disappearance cases in Mesa County history, the vanishing of 17-year-old Kayla Winters. Detective Laurel Simmons examines the device now preserved in an evidence bag. The phone's discovery has breathed new life into a cold case that haunted the Grand Junction Police Department for over a decade. "Technology has come a long way since 2014, she explains, carefully handling the evidence. "We can now recover data from devices that were once considered completely compromised." The case began on a summer evening in 2014. The Winters family home, a modest two-story in a quiet suburban neighborhood, became the epicenter of what initially appeared to be a typical teenage runaway situation. According to police reports, Kayla had engaged in a heated argument with her parents, David and Margaret Winters, regarding her plans after high school graduation. It wasn't unusual for teenagers to have disagreements with their parents about their future, recounts retired Detective Robert Hawkins, who led the initial investigation. What made this case different was how quickly it escalated from a probable runaway to something potentially more concerning. Margaret Winters, now 58, recalls that evening with painful clarity. Kayla wanted to defer college and travel with her boyfriend, Tyler. "We thought she was making a mistake." Her voice trembles slightly as she continues. "The argument wasn't even that bad, looking back. Nothing we hadn't worked through before." The Winters had always prided themselves on having an open relationship with their daughter. David, a high school science teacher, and Margaret, a nurse at the local hospital, had raised Kayla to be independent and thoughtful. Her sudden desire to postpone her education, she had been accepted to Colorado State University with a partial scholarship, caught them off guard. Security camera footage from a neighbor's house captured Kayla leaving the residence at approximately 8:43 p.m. The timestamp would become a crucial marker in the investigation's timeline. She was wearing jeans, a gray hoodie, and carrying a small backpack. The final confirmed sighting of Kayla occurred at a gas station approximately 2 miles from her home at 9:17 p.m., where surveillance footage showed her purchasing a bottle of water and asking to use the phone. The attendant, Marvin Diaz, reported that she seemed agitated but not distressed. She asked to use the store phone, which was unusual since most kids had cell phones. She made a call, spoke for maybe 30 seconds, then left. Phone records would later show the call was to Tyler Ransom, her boyfriend of 8 months. Ransom, who was 19 at the time, told investigators that Kayla had called to ask if he could pick her up, but he was working a late shift at a local restaurant and couldn't leave. She seemed upset, but said she'd figure something out. "I offered to call her parents, but she said absolutely not." He reported that the call ended abruptly. When Kayla failed to return home that night, her parents contacted her friends before filing a missing persons report the following morning. The initial 48 hours of the investigation focused on the theory that Kayla had run away voluntarily. Her passport was missing from the family's documents, along with approximately $200 from her savings account, withdrawn earlier that day. "The evidence initially pointed to a planned departure," explains Hawkins. "The money withdrawal, the missing passport, the argument about wanting to travel. It fit a pattern we'd seen before with teenagers. But as days turned into weeks, troubling inconsistencies emerged. Kayla's social media accounts remained inactive. Her bank account showed no further activity. Her closest friends received no communication. Most significantly, Tyler Ransom reported that their supposed travel plans had been a casual conversation, not a concrete plan that would prompt her sudden departure. "We had talked about traveling someday, maybe after I finish my associate's degree," Ransom explains. "Nothing imminent, nothing worth running away for. I kept telling the police that, but I think they saw me as just another clueless boyfriend at first." The investigation shifted when Kayla's backpack was discovered in a ditch along Highway 50, approximately 12 miles outside of Grand Junction, 3 weeks after her disappearance. The backpack contained her wallet with ID and $143 in cash, but no passport. Her credit cards were untouched. Personal items, including a journal, clothing, and toiletries, suggested she had packed for a short trip, not a permanent departure. "Finding the backpack changed everything," says Margaret Winters. "Kayla would never voluntarily abandon her journal. That's when we knew something was very wrong." The journal entries recovered from the backpack painted a more complex picture of Kayla's state of mind in the weeks before her disappearance. While maintaining her usual detailed accounts of daily life, there were references to someone new who understood her wanderlust and had actually seen the places I've only dreamed about. The entries were uncharacteristically vague about this person's identity. The discovery prompted investigators to expand their search and interview a wider circle of associates. They uncovered that Kayla had been communicating online with someone using the username Road Trip Guy in the weeks before her disappearance. The communications, recovered from her laptop, suggested she was sharing personal information with someone who claimed to be a 20-year-old travel enthusiast from Denver. Forensic analysis of these communications led to a disturbing revelation. Road Trip Guy had been using sophisticated proxy servers to mask his actual location. Efforts to identify this individual in 2014 hit technological limitations and jurisdictional challenges. The case took another turn when investigators interviewed Melissa Holden, a classmate who came forward after seeing news coverage about the backpack discovery. Holden revealed that Kayla had confided in her about a secret admirer who was older and experienced and had offered to show her beautiful places most tourists never see. "I thought she was exaggerating to make Tyler jealous," Holden told detectives. "She showed me messages from this guy, but made me promise not to tell anyone because her parents would freak out." This new information shifted focus to the possibility that Kayla had been targeted by someone exploiting her desire to travel and her temporary conflict with her parents. A psychological profile developed by the FBI suggested the person might be an experienced manipulator who had gained Kayla's trust over time. "This type of predator is patient," explains Dr. Vanessa Reyes, a forensic psychologist who consulted on the case. And do they identify vulnerabilities? In this case, Kayla's desire for adventure and her temporary friction with her parents, and exploit them methodically. They create a false sense of understanding and acceptance that can be incredibly compelling to a young person. As months passed, leads dwindled. The case remained open but inactive, one of dozens of missing persons files that haunted the Mesa County Sheriff's Department. David and Margaret Winters established a foundation in their daughter's name to help families of missing teenagers and to maintain public awareness of Kayla's case. The Winters at home became a time capsule of sorts. Kayla's room remained largely untouched, preserved in the hope of her return. Holidays were marked by empty chairs and unspoken grief. The couple, once active in community events, gradually withdrew from social circles as the constant questions and pitying glances became too difficult to bear. Tyler Ransom, who cooperated extensively with investigators, eventually moved to California in 2017. "I couldn't stay in Grand Junction anymore," he explains via video call. Everything reminded me of Kayla and the guilt I felt for not picking her up that night. His life, too, was fundamentally altered by Kayla's disappearance. The suspicion that initially fell on him, standard procedure in missing persons cases involving significant others, left emotional scars. Though formally cleared early in the investigation, the experience of being questioned repeatedly about his girlfriend's disappearance shaped his worldview. For years, I had nightmares about that phone call, he admits. What if I had just left work? What if I had called her parents, despite her saying not to? Would everything be different? The case might have remained cold if not for the highway maintenance discovery 11 years later. The recovery of Kayla's iPhone, confirmed through serial number verification, prompted a complete review of the original investigation using contemporary forensic techniques. Advanced data recovery methods revealed fragments of communications not accessible with 2014 technology. Among these fragments were location data points indicating the phone had traveled approximately 170 miles west of Grand Junction before all activity ceased, placing it near the Utah border. More significantly, partial recovery of deleted messages revealed communications with a contact not listed in her original phone records, someone saved simply as RR with a Denver area code. The timing of these communications aligned with the road trip guy online interactions. We're dealing with incomplete data, explains digital forensics expert Dr. Amir Patel, who consulted on the case. But what we can see suggests Kayla was communicating with this person up until approximately 11:42 p.m. on the night she disappeared, nearly 2 hours after her last confirmed sighting. The reconstructed messages paint a disturbing picture. What began as casual conversations about travel destinations gradually evolved into more personal exchanges. The unknown correspondent showed particular interest in Kayla's relationship with her parents and boyfriend, often reinforcing her frustrations and offering sympathetic understanding. It's a classic grooming pattern, notes Dr. Reyes, building trust, creating an us versus them dynamic, positioning themselves as the only person who truly understands, then escalating to suggestions of meeting in person. The location where the phone was discovered, a remote stretch of I-70 that cuts through a sparsely populated area of western Colorado, prompted investigators to reassess the geographical scope of their investigation. The area had not been thoroughly searched during the initial investigation, which had focused primarily on areas within a 50-mile radius of Grand Junction. Detective Simmons initiated a systematic search of the area surrounding the phone discovery site, utilizing cadaver dogs and ground-penetrating radar. While these efforts have not yet located Kayla's remains, they did yield another significant find, a deteriorated leather bracelet identified by Margaret Winters as a gift she had given her daughter for her 16th birthday. The bracelet's discovery, approximately 400 yards from where the phone was found, suggests Kayla may have been in the area, though it remains unclear whether she was there voluntarily or under duress. The bracelet was special to her, Margaret says. Examining the weathered band now preserved as evidence, it had her initials stamped inside. She wore it every day. The fact that it was found separated from the phone suggests it may have been forcibly removed or lost during a struggle, a possibility investigators are carefully examining. As the investigation progressed, detectives revisited the original witness statements and evidence with fresh perspective. Particular attention was paid to inconsistencies in the timeline established in 2014. One such inconsistency involved a truck driver named Keith Blackwell, who reported seeing a young woman matching Kayla's description at a rest stop near the Utah border around 1:30 a.m. on June 18, 2014. The sighting, approximately 4 hours after Kayla's last confirmed location, was deemed inconclusive at the time due to the distance involved and the lack of corroborating evidence. With what we know now about the phone's location data, Blackwell's statement takes on new significance, says Detective Simmons. The timeline makes it physically possible for Kayla to have been at that rest stop, particularly if she was traveling with someone in a vehicle. Blackwell, now retired and living in Idaho, has been re-interviewed. His recollection remains consistent, a young woman with blonde hair matching Kayla's description, appearing distressed, entering the restroom of the rest stop. When he returned from his break, she was gone. He noted a dark-colored semi-truck parked nearby, but couldn't recall specific details about its markings or license plate. I remember thinking she looked too young to be out there alone at that hour, Blackwell states. I asked if she needed help, but she just shook her head and hurried past me. I've thought about her many times over the years, wondering if I should have done more. Investigators have also reopened inquiry into Road Trip Guy using advanced digital forensic techniques unavailable in 2014. Cross-referencing partial IP data with cell tower records from the night of Kayla's disappearance has yielded a potential breakthrough, a pattern suggesting the user was traveling along I-70 during the critical hours when Kayla's phone was still active. Technology has advanced significantly, explains Dr. Patel. We can now analyze fragmentary digital evidence and detect patterns that were invisible to investigators a decade ago. This new evidence has led to the identification of a person of interest, Raymond Mercer, a long-haul truck driver who frequently traveled the I-70 corridor between Colorado and Utah during that period. Now 57, Mercer was questioned but not arrested in connection with two other cases involving young women who reported being approached inappropriately at rest stops along his route, though no charges were filed in either case. Cell tower records indicate Mercer's phone accessed towers along the same route and timeline as Kayla's final phone activity. Additionally, analysis of his online activities from that period revealed he frequented forums where the Road Tripping Guy username was active. When contacted by investigators, Mercer denied any knowledge of Kayla Winters or any involvement in her disappearance. He has refused further cooperation without legal representation. Detective Simmons maintains careful restraint when discussing Mercer. We're pursuing multiple avenues of investigation. Mr. Mercer is someone we're interested in speaking with further, but this remains a complex case with many unanswered questions. Mercer's employment records show he worked for 3 different trucking companies between 2012 and 2018, frequently driving routes between Denver and Salt Lake City. His personnel files include 2 complaints from female employees about inappropriate comments, though both were resolved internally without disciplinary action. More concerning is his digital footprint. Recovered fragments from online forums show a pattern of seeking connections with younger women interested in travel, often presenting himself as younger than his actual age and offering rides to scenic locations off the beaten path. The investigation has also revealed another troubling dimension. Between 2012 and 2016, 3 other young women were reported missing along the I-70 corridor between Colorado and Utah. While no definitive connection has been established, similarities in victim profiles and circumstances have prompted a multi-jurisdictional task force to review these cases collectively. For the Winters family, the recent developments have reopened wounds that never fully healed. It's both painful and hopeful, says David Winters. We've lived 11 years not knowing what happened to our daughter. We need answers, whatever they may be. The years of uncertainty have taken their toll. David's once dark hair is now completely grey. Margaret, who once planned to return to school for advanced nursing certification, never resumed her studies. Their marriage, tested by the different ways each processed their grief, survived but bears the scars of their shared tragedy. Margaret Winters visits the site where Kayla's phone was found, placing flowers near the highway embankment. "I talk to her when I'm here," she says quietly. I tell her we never stopped looking, never stopped loving her. As detectives compile evidence for a potential case against Raymond Mercer, they face significant challenges. The passage of time has degraded physical evidence. Witnesses' memories have faded. The digital breadcrumbs, while suggestive, remain incomplete. Cold cases are among the most difficult to resolve, admits Detective Simmons, but they're also among the most important. Behind every case file is a family waiting for answers, for closure. For now, the final message on Kayla's phone: "I'm sorry about everything. I need some time alone. Don't worry about me," remains an ambiguous clue. Was it genuinely Kayla expressing her desire for independence, or was it composed under duress, or even written by someone else entirely after gaining access to her phone? Time changes many things, reflects Detective Simmons, studying the caseboard covered with photos, timelines, and connecting threads, but it doesn't erase the truth. The truth is still out there, waiting to be found.